I mean, let's start with this one. 9-year-olds among thousands investigated for these incidents. We know that there's been 13,200 non-crime hate incidents, which is at least 13,200 police hours, probably 2 or 3 times that if you consider what's involved in each one of these incidents. I mean, that's a lot of police time for no crime at all.
Well, we don't know. I mean, you've just said you're making those numbers up. Probably this, probably that. You don't know how long it takes for a PCSO, not a police officer, a PCSO.
You reckon they can do that less than an hour?
I've got no idea of the process.
Well, have a rough idea, all right? You make a complaint about me, say, you don't believe what Colin said about me on the radio. It was outrageous.
I do every week.
So you've got, they come and see you, and then they make their notes, and then they come and see me, all right? We live in different parts of the country. So I reckon minimal 1 hour, minimal. In fact, let's be honest, it's 3 or 4 hours, isn't it? But let's say, let's be generous, it's 1 hour.
OK, I'll take your hour. I'll take your hour.
Take your hour. I won't raise you on that. We'll take the hour. 13,200 hours investigating a non-crime, the very sort of antitheses of what the police are kind of there to do.
Yes, but there are different ranks of police officer. So a PCSO would do it. And PCSOs don't tend to do much investigation otherwise. They do a good job of walking around the streets and keeping us safe. Like, I'm not trying to talk down our PCSOs, but they're not the ones who investigate other kinds of crimes. So
that's true. But these aren't PCSOs that are turning up at people's houses all the time.
Well, I must admit, I don't know about that. Do you know what? Do you know what I'd like to talk about on this, though?
Yeah, go on.
I would like to talk about my Christmas list.
Yeah.
Because Elon Musk, Nigel Farage, the Telegraph journalist Alison Pearson, Ian Duncan Smith, and the Telegraph View all called this Orwellian.
Yeah.
And they've clearly never read the book 1984, because this is nothing like Orwell's vision. Nothing at all. So I'm going to get it for them. I'm going to send Elon Musk one in the post.
Listen, 1984 is possibly the most sinister, scary book I've ever read. And it's brilliant, of course, we all know that. I would say this is very much like 1984.
No, because the point of 1984 is that people say it in their homes. There is no law about what you say in your home. No one cares what you're saying in your home.
So, hang on,
these are things that people...
Indeed, 1984, where the government are listening to you. They've got microphones in bushes in 1984. There's obviously screens, and there is, you know, the whole deal of dobbing your neighbour in it if, you know, you think something, wrong think, and all the rest of it. If you do all of that, you can be found guilty. This has powerful echoes of 1984.
No, because this is about what people are saying and doing in public. This is about what people are choosing to go out. And we're talking a lot about Twitter on here. And these are people who have chosen to go out and say things that are not very nice, that are horrid. Like whether or not it should be legal or illegal, that's not for me to say.
Sure.
But choosing to say horrid things intentionally in public isn't a very nice thing to do.
Well, it might not be a very nice thing to do, but that's not illegal to not be very nice, is it? Hence the reason why it's not a crime, and therefore why would the police be investigating something that isn't a crime when clearly the brief, I think, as a copper Tatton, is to investigate things that demonstrably are a crime.
I think that there's an element of escalation.
That's Orwellian.
Creating.
That's Orwellian.
It's not Orwellian.
It's
Go
Orwellian.
and read the book, Ian.
Well, Orwellian is an umbrella title for authoritarian, right? It's a kind of synonym almost for all of that. So it does sit snugly.
Be.
Well, it should be. It should be, because it is.
I mean, like, The Road to Wigan Pier is a wonderful book as well, but it's not...
It's not as good as 1984.
Well, yeah, it's got some very lasting memories. Anyway, I think that conditions can be created where we get misogyny online or where we get racism online.
But that's already an offence.
Finding that line is really difficult.
If somebody has been racist, then they would be liable to be, you know, at least have a racism is a crime. It's a criminal thing.
Yes, but finding what's racist and what's not. When you're on those margins, And maybe we're too far off those margins. Maybe that's where all these police hours are going. But when you're on the margins between misogyny and racism, racism and not racist, what's misogynistic and what's not misogynistic? Because you might think something's misogynistic that I say that I don't think is.
If I said on social media, let's pick a random town, I don't know, Whitstable or somewhere like that.
Terrible.
I say, have you seen the people in Whitstable? They have an eye in their palm. They're not normal, those folk down there. They have a family tree with no branches in it. It's a very strange place. If I said that, somebody could then report me for a hate crime. Now, that's either me being slightly comedic, depending on who you're asking, or it's just me being an idiot. But it's not me being a criminal. But somebody could report me for that. That's Orwellian, you see.
No, well, it's not. But I think you've just proved the point I'm making really nicely. So thank you. Because what you've just said, no one would report. Because it's clearly satire.
They would they would report it.
No, they wouldn't.
Somebody would go, what's he calling? He's calling us sort of, inbreds, and that's offensive.
I don't think that what you just said can be like.
Have you not read The Road to Whitstable Pier? I mean, it's all in there.
A lot of this has come about because Alison Pearson has had the police turn up at her house, right? And that's kind of changed things. And
she doesn't know what she wrote, by the way.
Well, no, she deleted it, and if Alison Pearson, who writes some punchy things that are quite conspiracy theory based, right? She's quite a controversial, and for her to have deleted it, it must have been quite bad. And again, I mean, who knows whether it was officially racist or officially misogynist or whatever else, but if she deleted it, and now she's a journalist, she remembers what she wrote, but she magically can't remember what she wrote.
Well, whether she remembers that particular tweet, because they wouldn't tell her what it was she wrote. That's the other iffy thing that's the other Orwellian thing about this, is that they won't tell her what it was she wrote, which is a bit weird.
I mean, I can see
that's weird.
When you're convicted of a crime, you have to know what it is. They can't say. I mean, I was trying to think of any other crime where they wouldn't tell you what it is you were in for.
Aren't there some sort of odd, extreme, very, very rare examples where somebody is arrested for something and they're not told? Well, you couldn't be charged, could you? They couldn't sort of charge you, and then you mute the officer as he reads out the charge, or you have to wear some, headphones, like they used to do in 1970s quiz shows, so that you can't hear things.
Yes. That's the best way to interview somebody, I think, with those on.
I think so. Let's look at this story, Tatton. UK economy grew by 0.1% in Q3. That's the weakest pace since early 2023. This, of course, is bang under the watch of Keir Starmer. The socialists have crashed the economy, Tatton. They've only been there half an hour. What's going on? He's got to resign.
A ludicrous story. He should resign in shame.
Yeah.
It's a ludicrous story. Like, he took over in July, and with these figures are for July, August, September. Now, September was the worst of those, and I think there was a mistake made, or a sacrifice made, in not having the budget sooner, because everyone knew the budget was coming and there would be cuts and there would be other taxes, and I think that did knock confidence. But they would say we had to do it that long because we wanted the OBR and the IEP, all these other people, to see it properly before it comes out.
Yeah, but aren't you meant to? You're meant to have a honeymoon period, aren't you? There's a big boost. Everyone goes, "Oh, it's a new government. There's a new confidence. It's a corner turned, and the sunny uplands have finally arrived. Everything's good." It's not meant to go down the pan that quickly, is it? Starmer has crashed the economy. He's no better than Liz Truss.
Ian, have you not heard of the 14 years of Conservative mismanagement that has bankrupted the country?
Well, that's just identifying their entire tenure in office, along with the Lib Dems for nearly half of that. But I mean, we never used to define it like that, did we?
No, but
half of that was just normal. It was just normal times. No great growth.
I think the thing is the pandemic. right? The pandemic has had these huge waves of effect after it that the Conservatives could never quite get running up again. Around the world, governments who were in charge during the pandemic have been voted out. And the economy is in a bit of a state because we're still having to pay back huge amounts from furlough and from other not controversial spending that the government made. So it is difficult. And no, there hasn't been a honeymoon. He's not particularly popular, but I don't think it's reasonable to say that he crashed the economy.
In 2008, when there was the global financial meltdown, which, if you remember, where Gordon Brown single-handedly crashed the economy, that year... All the economists were saying...
The global economy was amazing.
Gordon did. They went into the old Japanese system, got the French as well, gave the Germans a kicking. Everybody collapsed, all due to the Marxist economics of Gordon Brown.
Terrible.
If you go back to that era, at the time, the Governor of the Bank of England and anyone else worth their salt in the world of economics all said, don't expect growth for about 20 years in this country. It ain't going to happen. And it didn't happen. And, of course, they all stood there in 2010... Gordon Brown, Nick Clegg, David Cameron, all of them promising austerity is coming your way. No matter which one of us you get in, we're going to have to go down that route. And then, of course, halfway through it, three-quarters of the way through it, before the pandemic, people scratching their head going, well, why is the economy not growing? Well, they said, I don't know how other countries have, some countries have managed to turn the corner, but I do remember, regardless of who was going to be in power, we were told there is a rocky road ahead. And then we had a rocky road, and then we had the lockdown. So the rocky road got even rockier along the way, and that was a rock fest of economics.
A download festival.
It was a kind of almost an Orwellian time, wasn't it, really?
I mean, you've never read the books.
If you remember that period when they had the downturn in the book, just as... it was the Bitcoin market
that really did it.
That was the one, yes. Well, it was when he went and saw that woman, for their little tete-a-tete, that the economy crashed.
You're just saying that to prove you've read it, aren't you? That's all it is.
Yes, I was proving to you. When I said it, actually, when I just said that, I thought, hang on, have I confused? No, I haven't. I'm going to read it again now, just to make, make sure
really
we're all referencing the right book. Talking of Orwell, Rachel Reeves, she, of course, is the Chancellor of the Exchequer. She's apparently been caught changing her LinkedIn CV after the I was an economist at the Bank of England myth was exposed. She highlighted her time as a Bank of England economist in the Mansion House speech, omitting earlier claims about HBOS, which now describes her HBOS role as a retail banking, whereas previously she'd said she was an economist. It wasn't true. If that's not Orwellian, I don't know what is.
I mean, that's I hadn't heard this story. I think that's it's an interesting thing to do. I think a lot of people have things on their CVs that are slightly talked up.
Yeah.
And it's easy.
It's quite big, though, if you're the Chancellor, isn't it, to have told people you were an economist when, in fact, you essentially, worked at the TSB.
But presumably she didn't say it when she was Chancellor. She's been talking, and then you go for, we've all done it. We go further down the line. Suddenly, it's a small lie here, a small lie there, and suddenly you're Chancellor. Yeah. You're looking around, and then you go, oh, whoops, I'll change my LinkedIn.
That's what's happened. It's essential as that. We did ask the Treasury for a comment on this, but they said they were unable to, and that Rachel was busy anyway.
She is quite busy.
Skiing in Saudi Arabia, or something like that, which I think is also on her CV.
I mean, she loves it.
It's a Saudi ski champion.
She's a big Saudi skier,
yes, and then and mountain climbing in Holland, I think, is another one of her specialities, but that's another story. Listen, Tatton, always great to have you on.